So guys, please excuse my voice. I have a sore throat and my voice has been kind of weird lately. Apparently, Michael Flynn has resigned for doing nothing wrong, which basically amounts to apologizing for doing nothing wrong. And if there's one lesson we learned from the Trump run for presidency in 2016 is you don't have to apologize if you didn't do anything wrong. And that's what Trump did. He didn't abide by political correctness, and he never kowtowed to the pressure. You have to apologize because you did racist, sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic, all the bullshit terms they label and they throw at you. Trump did not cave in. But now, in a very uncharacteristic move for the Trump administration, Michael Flynn has resigned. And apparently he resigned for nothing. Now, the Washington Post, which is one of the bigger fake news organizations that is helping break this story right now, even they admit in the video I'm about to play, even they admit in their own video on their own website, Washington Post admits that what Michael Flynn did when he met with the Russian ambassador to the United States, Michael Flynn didn't do anything wrong or controversial or even uncharacteristic. It's totally customary for the upcoming administration to meet with foreign leaders to talk about things. So before I do that though, let's take a look at the tweet that Washington Post put out on the fact that Michael Flynn resigned. And if you look at the responses, all the liberals are celebrating because they think they've found proof now that the Russian narrative, that Trump is colluding with Russia to overthrow America against America's interests. The liberals think that this is proof. They think that Michael Flynn's resignation is more undeniable evidence that there's collusion between America and Russia, between the Trump administration and Russia. Take a look at some of these responses. This guy goes, resignation is the least of it. This is treason, correct? This guy goes, still need a full investigation. Can't be swept under the rug. Investigate Trump. Let this be an announcement to the rest of the goons. You have far less protection than you imagine. If it was not for real news by diligent press, fake news, none of this treasonous activity would be coming to light. So these idiots actually think, these low IQ liberals, as I call them, they actually think that this resignation by Flynn is somehow proof of treason. But if you listen to the Washington Post's own article, they embedded a video in the article. And in this video, their own Washington Post national security expert, he right here, as you're going to see in the video, he himself says that there's nothing wrong with what he did when he was meeting with the Russian ambassador. And in truth, if you read Flynn's resignation letter, he says that really the reason he's resigning is not because he did anything wrong with the Russian ambassador. He's resigning because he inadvertently, quote, inadvertently did not disclose with the Trump administration or the media, the public, when they asked him about what his meeting was about. Flynn inadvertently did not tell people that while he was meeting with the Russian ambassador, that they did discuss sanctions. And you think, oh my God, they discussed sanctions with the Russian ambassador. Isn't that treason? That's what the stupid low IQ liberals are thinking. It's not treason. And here's the Washington Post telling you that it's not treason. In fact, it's totally customary for an upcoming administration to discuss these things with foreign leaders. Watch.
It is not unusual for an incoming national security advisor to have contact with a wide range of diplomats in Washington and around the world as part of preparing to take power. That is very normal. What officials have told us is unusual in this case is that, typically an incoming national security advisor would spend a lot of time getting to know our closest allies first. And our closest allies in Europe, for example, watched with alarm as the Trump officials seem to spend more and more time and invest more and more in the Russian relationship than they were investing in the transatlantic.
So, in other words, not only did Flynn not do anything wrong by discussing sanctions with the Russian ambassador, the Washington Post just said that's totally normal to discuss sanctions with foreign leaders. The problem that the Washington Post has is that Trump was discussing sanctions with a foreign leader that the Washington Post doesn't like. You know, Putin, Russia. So, it's not that Flynn did anything wrong, it's that Flynn spoke with Russia, and as far as the liberal fake news media is concerned, anything associated with Putin or Russia is by default deemed as evil and treasonous, and it's an overthrow of America. This modern day McCarthyism, Red Scare propaganda that the Soviets are coming to get us. So, the mainstream media has been extremely successful. The fake news mainstream media has been extremely successful in creating sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy here. Because it seems to me that the reason Michael Flynn did not disclose the fact that he discussed sanctions with Russia while he met with the Russian ambassador, the reason he probably didn't say that he discussed sanctions is because he knew that if he told the public and the media, I discussed sanctions with Russia, that could be a major blow to Donald Trump's election. Because they'd say, oh, look, he's colluding with the Russians. So the fake news mainstream media, the Washington Post fake news media, has created a self-fulfilling prophecy here where they spread the lie that Russia hacked the election to overthrow our democracy. They demonize Russia and then suggest that Trump is linked to Russia with essentially no evidence. So now that anything you do that even comes off as slightly pro-Russia or any ties to Russia, you will naturally be afraid to admit that. And Michael Flynn probably did not tell people that he discussed sanctions with the Russian ambassador because he knew that would be red meat for the mainstream fake news media. So it's sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The fake news media demonizes Russia with no good justification for it. All right. Then, if you do anything with Russia, you're evil, enticing Michael Flynn to keep his mouth shut about the fact that he spoke about sanctions with the Russian ambassador. And when it finally comes out that, yes, Michael Flynn did talk about sanctions with the Russian ambassador, Flynn has to then resign because he lied. And now the media they don't have proof of any nefarious ties between Trump and Russia, that Trump is colluding with Russia to overthrow America. There's no evidence of that here. And there's nothing wrong with meeting with foreign ambassadors and discussing sanctions. The fucking dumbass, this scumbag, look at this evil piece of shit right here. He just said there's nothing wrong with that. Now they're latching onto that and they're saying, oh look, now the mainstream media is going to use this. Even though it doesn't prove anything about nefarious ties to Russia, even though it was entirely customary for Flynn to meet with the Russian ambassador and talk sanctions, the fake news mainstream media is going to use this as oh look, it's a major loss for the Trump administration. You see, he's weak, he's vulnerable. Trump is not invincible. He can be taken down. So now they're going to double down. There's blood in the water. They're going to double down and go in even harder. But even worse, they now, like I showed you a moment ago with the low IQ liberals, they have now fed more fake news propaganda to their low IQ liberal voters who think that this is proof of treason, even though there's no proof of treason. Meeting with a Russian diplomat is not proof of treason. As the Washington Post contributor himself said, it's entirely normal to meet with foreign ambassadors to talk sanctions and other things. It's just that you're not allowed to do it with Russia because they hacked the election. No, there's basically no evidence of that. And if anything, them hacking the election and the DNC, all it did was reveal that the DNC colluded with Hillary to rob the election from Bernie Sanders. So we all know Hillary is corrupt and the DNC is corrupt to the core. So thank God that Russia exposed that. If Russia did in fact do it, thank God someone exposed the corruption. But there's really no evidence that Russia was behind it. So, it's, I mean, I can go all day. The point is that this is a major loss for the Trump administration. Hopefully Trump saves the day by refusing to accept Flynn's resignation. I really think there's only one way Trump can salvage this at this point. Tomorrow morning, hold a press conference, standing right next to Flynn, clear the water, clear the air, state what happened, and refuse to accept his resignation. Because at this point, accepting his resignation is just going to embolden the liberals. Look at the responses from these stupid liberals. They're literally saying that they have proof now of treason. They're literally saying they have proof now of treason. This is not proof of treason. The fucking guy, the Washington Post himself said it. This is totally normal behavior. Sorry, Jesus. I'm dying over here. I'm actually getting better, but it's almost gone. Been doing some MMA training. And I think being around a bunch of people, all the germs, the coach was sick. I think I got a cold, so I'm coming back though. Basically that's what it comes down to. This is a major loss. The low IQ liberals think that this is proof of treason. It's not really proof of treason. The mainstream media is going to attack even harder. You know, I thought after Hillary lost, and after the fake news that said Trump had no chance and Hillary was going to be the first female president, all feminists applaud and rejoice, I honestly thought that the media would humble itself and realize they can't keep lying to the public. But they've only doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on their effort to spread fake news and push their agenda, their hidden agenda that they're not overtly open about. So, major defeat, major failure. Michael Flynn, this is beyond stupid. This is a beyond failure. You do not apologize. What did a year and a half of Trump running for president prove? That you are only as weak as your capitulation to the enemy. You are only as weak as your capitulation to the enemy. The enemy is weak. They thrive on weakness. And that's why they just want to tear you down. I mean, these liberals, all they do is rejoice. These anti-Trump liberals, all they do is rejoice. Like their celebrations is Trump's failures. Really, that's what it comes down to. They celebrate whenever Trump fails, not because they have an agenda they care about. That's bullshit. They just want to see the downfall of everything. Because that's their goal, is to destroy prosperity in this country. So, you do not kowtow and you do not apologize. And that's what Mr. General Flynn here has done. I think it's a mistake. The only way to salvage this now is to acknowledge Donald Trump needs to come out, clear the air, and refuse to accept Flynn's resignation. But at this point, it's a major fuck up.
You treated him with terrible disrespect. So when you try to act holier than thou, it really doesn't work. It really doesn't.
Fight back against YouTube censorship by supporting me on Patreon. You'll also get access to exclusive, never-before-seen videos and other perks like monthly Google Hangouts with me, free books and t-shirts, and more.